Hey everyone, Dom here. Today we're going to talk about the brand new Isotope Ozone 12 that just dropped, and stick around because this update's got some seriously fun stuff in it. Now, if you've taken my Mastering in the Box masterclass, you already know I use certain parts of Ozone in my mastering workflow, but I've never actually done a video on it before. But this version made me go, okay, we need to talk about this. Because in this version, Isotope introduced some serious modules. So without any further ado, let's check them out. Okay, so here we go. This is Ozone 12, and I want to jump straight into the first module that I find very interesting, and this is the stem EQ. So you just hit plus, and then you get all the different modules categorized into core, modern, and vintage. So I'm going to go here to modern and go to stem EQ. And I think this is a very useful module. Basically what it does is it separates the stereo track that you have inside your DAW into vocals, bass, drums, and other stems, and then you can EQ every stem separately. Actually, this is a technique that I normally do offline, so I separate the stems. I show all these things in my mastering courses, but let's see what this can do in real time, because that's the beauty of the Ozone 12, is that this happens in real time. You don't have to separate the stems first. I'm going to play a track from Couch Poets, an artist that I've been working with for a long time. I love this track. Let's check it out.
It seems like everything here in our world just might be coming down to a constant fight for the spotlight. Ooh, oh, oh.
So as you can see, it actually does the extraction in real time, and then, for example, if you want to bring out the vocals in this master, you can just EQ the vocals and give them a little bit more clarity. I would say straight away that this will not replace things like spectral layers or Isotope RX, but it's a very nice and easy way to EQ different stems inside a stereo file. And if you don't want to do something intricate, this might be all you need. So let's keep going. Let's try the bass now. Drums. So I can just pinpoint the snare, for example, right here. And here we have all the synths, guitars. And you know what? There are many different types of EQ. So for example, if you want to create like a Poltec style EQ, you can go vintage. If I want to go to my bass, for example, and I want to add a nice vintage, this is kind of like a Poltec kind of curve. So it's really effective. One thing that I would like to see in an upcoming version would be, of course, you know me, a mid-side EQ. So I would like to be able to go to other, for example, and go to my synths and guitars and make sure I can just bring out those sides so I can make the track a little bit more 3D. As far as I can see, this is not possible yet. So I can change the bell, I can change the frequency, but you cannot really make this mid-side yet. Unless there is a way, and I haven't found it. It's still a very new plugin. Now let's move on to the next module. This is the bass control module, and this is a very interesting module, I have to say. It's one of the things that immediately grabbed my attention, because basically what it claims to do is it claims that it can give you a low end that will translate in pretty much every system. So in your car, on your earbuds, and so on and so forth. And As a long-time Ozone user, I can see exactly where this kind of technology stems from, because I've been using tonal balance control for a while, and in the tonal balance control you have this low end indicator where it shows you if you have too much dynamics or if you have no dynamics in the low end, and this has been adopted here. But this time it not only shows you if you're at the right place with your bass and your low end, but you can also tweak your low end in order to make it more compatible with the most system. So I thought that I would just show you what it does, but I want to actually give you some information, some useful information in this video. So there are two indicators here. You have balance and punch, and basically balance is all the sustain notes. Imagine bass, imagine drones, things like this. And then punch, you can translate it into, for example, kick drums, or maybe like a slap bass. If it has like too much attack, this will be into the punch category. And then you can see we have light, heavy, and then we have very compressed and very dynamic. And basically what Ozone tells you is that your mix should be somewhere around the middle. So let's check it out.
It seems like everything here in our world just might be coming down to a constant fight for the spotlight.
So as you can see, for this mix we're kind of alright, but I'm going to try and exaggerate now so that you can see what these two controls actually do.
It seems like everything here in our world just might be coming down to a constant fight for the spotlight. Everything here in our world just might be coming down to a constant fight for the spotlight.
So basically, this adds a little bit of punch to your low end. This adds more sustain, so it makes the bass a little bit more assertive. And of course, what I would suggest is that you don't stick exactly to what these indicators show you, but if you see, for example, that your mix leans a little bit towards on the heavy side, then I would actually be a little bit careful and maybe try and tone this down a little bit, because that means you mixed way too heavy. Honestly, before I go into the processing side of things, I would really recommend this tool as a monitoring tool. So even if you don't use this module, you can slap it on your stereo out and see where your mix is at any given time. So is it very bass light or is it bass heavy, you know? And the same goes for punch, and then you can adjust your mix. In my opinion, that's the best way to do this, but of course if you have no other way, or if you're working with a client, then this can actually save the day. Right here I want to say this video is not sponsored, but if you want to support the channel, you can check out my instruments, the Modern 80s Kit Max, which also got a glowing review from Sound on Sound magazine this month. I am so happy about this. And of course, you can check out my mastering courses, my Mastering in the Box Masterclass, Mastering in Cubase, and Hybrid Mastering, where I show you how to master with tasty analog gear. And of course, my Cubase Masterclass, which has already been loved by so many of you, and thank you for that. So let me show you what else is here, because of course we can add more punch, we can add more of the bass balance, but then there are some more controls here that are very interesting. So the first one is the sustain power. So again, this will give you a little bit of lift on your bass. It's very similar to the pillow trick that I show in my mastering courses. It actually lifts the bass a little bit and it gives you a very nice, assertive and very solid bass. Let me play with it a little bit and you will see exactly what it does. The first thing that I'm going to do is set the threshold so that we can decide which part of the low end is going to be my sustain.
It seems like everything here in our world just might.
And you can solo, as you can see here.
It seems like everything here in our world just might be coming down to a constant fight for the spotlight. Everything here in our world just might be coming down to a constant fight for the spotlight.
Of course, it helps if you have a good bass line, but basically what happens here is we increase the sustain of the bass, and then you can choose between a clean sustain power or a dirty, which actually is a wave shaper in the background. So let me show you how this sounds in isolation. And quite honestly, the wave shaper, the dirty option, is really useful. I'm going to play a completely different track now.
You know that you can never fail me. You only got one life to...
And listen to this. So that's clean. And then dirty. So for tracks that have these sub basses, sometimes I like the dirty wave shaper version, because basically what happens with this is that it adds harmonics and it makes the sub bass stand out a little bit more. So let's listen to this with the full track.
You know that you can never fail me. You only got one life to nail it. And you don't have to be so low-key, baby, you need to fake it until you make it. You know that you can never fail me. You only got one life to nail it.
I really like that. Of course, I'm exaggerating here, it goes without saying, but if you want to add a tiny bit of oomph to your bass, this is a very nice way to do this. And quite honestly, this is one of the first tools that allows you this kind of control on your low end. Now, the peak control actually controls the attacks of the bass. So again, if you go clean, you get a nice clean limiter, where if you go to dirty, you get a more of a clipped sound.
One life to nail it, and you don't have to be so low-key.
So it controls the peaks, but also it gives you body. And this is one of the things that is extremely hard to do with bass. You have to employ many different techniques, and Ozone 12 does this very nicely. Will it give you the perfect bass on every system? I don't know about that, because there are many other aspects when it comes to mixing bass, but it will definitely help you get a very good idea of whether your bass is in the right place and if you have to do something about this. And if you have to do something, it has all the tools that allow you to do that. Now let's move on to the next module that I want to show you. And the next module is the maximizer. But the maximizer, of course, is not new in itself. But there's a new mode, the IRC5 mode, which is supposed to be very loud. Personally, I never gravitated towards the Ozone maximizer, but the IRC5 might change things, because IRC5 is basically a multi-band design under the hood. So it's designed to give you the ultimate loudness, but it knows what it needs to limit at any given time. So let me show you an example. I'm going to go for the IRC4 Modern, and I'm going to increase the loudness by 7 dBs, let's say.
You know that you can never fail me.
And now let's listen to the delta for a second. So the difference that this limiter does to the signal. And pay attention how much the vocal is limited using this mode. So this mode affects the vocal quite a bit. Now let's switch to IRC5 with the same settings. So see, this mode is targeting what needs to be limited, where the actual energy is. So you will hear more of the kick drum and the sub bass rather than the vocals. So that means that master will sound more open and less compressed, because you don't get this pumping on the vocals whenever the kick drum and the sub bass hits. IRC5. See how much vocal we're losing there. Okay, so now let's listen to it. I'm going to see how much of LUFS we can gain here. So we start with around -13 LUFS, and let's see with IRC5. And of course, we can do upward compression and we can do transient emphasis. Let's see.
You know that you can never fail me.
And I mean, it's crazy. It already got me to -6 LUFS.
You know that you can never fail me. You only got one life to nail it. And you don't have to be so low-key, baby. You need to fake it until you make it.
And yeah, it's very loud. I have to compare it to my other clippers and limiters to see where it stands. From my first tests, it's a really good one and a big difference compared to all the other algorithms that were available in Ozone. One thing that I'm going to tell you is straight away, I prefer the clipping mode to any other mode. So the very slow, transparent, smooth, and fast and loud, I prefer the clipping more than anything else. Because if you want to get loud, in my opinion, clipping is the best way to achieve this. Now, let's go to the next module, the Unlimiter module. What Unlimiter does is it uses machine learning to listen to an already limited or squashed track, and then it figures out how it would sound if it had the dynamics back. So with our brains, we can do this. Of course, we can say, okay, these are the drums. I wish I could make them punchy again. I could bring some more dynamics. Well, this is what this module does. And I have to say, it does it very well. And this was actually one of the main reasons why I wanted to make this video. So let me show you how it works. This is a special version that I actually limited a little bit more for this song, The Spotlight from Couch Poets. I'm going to link the songs down below, of course. Basically, what you can do is you can learn the threshold and then you can add the process. Let's have a listen.
It seems like everything here in our world just might be coming down to a constant fight for the spotlight.
So now the threshold is set. Let's start adding the amount. And just so that you can see what's going on, I've also added my supervision here so we can see the waveform in real time and check how squashed it is at first and then how we can retrieve those dynamics back, like the kick drums, the snares. Check it out.
It seems like everything here in our world just might be coming down to a constant fight for the spotlight. Ooh, oh, oh. Everything here in our world just might be coming down to a constant fight for the spotlight. Ooh, oh, oh.
And of course, I exaggerate here, and if you bring down the threshold, it's going to give you even more dynamics. It's going to start detecting even more elements that could be unlimited. So let's bring down the threshold. One tip I want to give you here is Ozone, to my understanding, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I've observed. When you play the track, it starts learning its components. So I would suggest that when you start the process, you let it play a little bit. Play a little bit of the track and then start adjusting the amount.
It seems like everything here in our world just might be coming down to a constant fight for the spotlight. Ooh, oh, oh. Everything here in our world just might be coming down to a constant fight for the spotlight. Ooh, oh, oh.
So hear these snares, how they come back to life. Those kick drums are very punchy again.
It seems like everything here in our world just might be coming down to a constant fight for the spotlight. Ooh, oh, oh. Everything here in our world just might be coming down to a constant fight for the spotlight.
So now this hit, now it sounds like, okay, we need to add a master bus compressor and a limiter or something like this to tame those. So again, I wouldn't go to 100%. But imagine if you have an old recording. I mean, I have old recordings of my music on cassettes. I might have demos, old demos from 20 years ago that I slapped a limiter and then I forgot about it. I can just take these recordings and unlimit them and bring back those dynamics. And because this is machine learning, it figures out what it needs to do. And up to this point, to be honest with you, every program material that I ran through the Unlimiter sounded great. So I didn't have any unpleasant surprises. So it seems that it's very well optimized, and I can only expect that this is going to get better with time. So maybe in iZotope Ozone 13, it's going to be even more advanced. So there you go, my friends, this is iZotope 12. I hope this video helps you decide if this plugin is for you. Let me know your thoughts down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all the good stuff. Check out my courses and instruments. Have fun, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.